Hello, it's me again. Glad to see you. Thanks for checking in at Pig Dog Productions. And today, right now, we're going to talk about this is, of course, in reverse, which I haven't figured out how to unreverse, but we're going to talk about my time working on Thor for Marvel as a penciler, which was a very exciting time. I loved Thor as a kid. It was one of my favorite of all comic books, so it was quite a thrill to get to have a time to pencil Thor back in the mid 90s. Before then, I had penciled a comic book for Marvel called Pirates of Dark Water, which was a blast, and they liked that enough to give me a shot at doing Thor. So here we are doing Thor, which is all about Norse mythology. And it's about a guy who's a god, and he has a hammer, and he has to use his hammer sort of like a sword a lot. He attacks with it, he does a lot of things with it. And I had to do some research on what it looks like to fight with a hammer or a sword. And as an example, I checked out a lot of John Buscema kind of artwork of Conan the Barbarian. And I tell you what, let's reverse the camera, shall we, so you can more easily see what I'm talking about. So here's a lot of scenes from other Marvel comic books of fighting with swords. More fighting with swords, more fighting with swords. And then there was just the researching itself of, what does Thor's costume really look like? Trying to understand how the design works, even, how his cape is flapping around a lot, and how he manages to throw the sword. A lot of times he'll just hit with the sword like it's a hammer, but sometimes he's swinging it in the air by the leather handle, the thong of it. And then I started just thinking about how am I going to draw Thor. So that was a pretty intimidating time for me. And this is actually the very first book that I worked on. And as with a lot of things I do, I start with thumbnail sketches of each page. The script kind of tells you what's supposed to happen on each page, and also maybe how the panels can be broken down. And then it's up to me to either use that, or if I feel like it needs improving, I'll make changes in the script suggestions of how the pages break up. So here's just an example of page 1, and then this is how I did page 1. And here's page 2, and then here's my pencils on page 2, trying to get up high enough. And then over here is how the final page 2 looks when it's inked. So let's go back again. Or actually, let's lay them side by side. And you can sort of see the difference between my pencils on the left and the inks on the right, which were actually done by another artist. So they broke everything down in between different people. And I penciled, somebody else inked, and somebody else colored. It was sort of like an assembly line. And then there's also the cover, which is really important to do. I would submit some rough ideas on how I might see the cover going. And then this is really how it turned out. So it's actually closest to this design, which obviously was accepted. And then here's the same process here. These are some thumbnail rough ideas of my ideas for the cover. And then this is how the cover turned out. It has to be submitted to the editor, and the editor then chooses which cover design he likes the best. And so here's the before and after. And then you can just see some examples of how the books turned out. And I think over time, I got better at it. My penciling improved as I got more familiar with the characters and more confident and more relaxed about just even doing something like this. So that's a little bit of a look. Back to me again. Hello. And I don't know what else I can possibly say about it except that that was exciting. Really exciting to work on Thor. And I get a big kick out of seeing the movies now because of my memories of working on it as a penciler artist. And so I think I have a special enjoyment of seeing that character in movies now, which we could never have imagined back then that they could make movies like they're making now. So with all the special effects and computer generated images, they can truly realize what the world of Thor looks like on the big screen. So thank you again, as usual, for spending a little time with me and seeing some of the things that I do. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.